contracts. Okay, so this will take us out throughout the rest of the section and a number of different areas we could have test questions here. But what we're talking about here is the policy, the insurance policy. It is a legal contract. And in order to be considered a legal contract, it has to meet the 4 essential elements of a legal contract, which you can remember with this acronym, COAL. Okay, so we have the acronym COAL. So we're getting into contract law here, but you have to know what these 4 things are because they have to be present in order for the contract to be legally enforceable. And the first thing is consideration. Okay, so consideration is what? You have to know what it's defined as. The exchange of values. So what is this? Well, you've got the insurer. They promise to provide coverage. In return, the insured, their money, so 2 things, their initial premium, and the second thing is answers on the application, which generally are classified as representations. And a representation is defined as the truth to the best of your knowledge. So the exchange of values here is the premium plus answers on the insured's behalf and the promise to provide coverage on the insurer's behalf. Is the consideration equal? Generally not, but it's not required to be. It just has to be present. So an exchange of values has to be present. Second thing, offer. Who's the offer made by? Applicant. So they fill out the application, they submit that initial premium, that's the offer to buy. In return, the underwriter at the insurance company issues the policy, which is referred to as acceptance. These 2 together are referred to as a meeting of the minds or mutual agreement. You have to know that as well. Last thing is a 2-parter. The contract must be for a legal purpose, and everybody entering into it must have legal capacity. Okay, so last one. Contract cannot be for an illegal purpose, must be legally enforceable. Second one, capacity. Everybody must not be under the influence of drugs or alcohol, must be of legal age, must be of sound mind. So somebody who is sane would be considered to have legal capacity to enter into a contract. What if an insurance company enters into a contract with a minor? The contract would not be enforceable because the minor did not have legal capacity. So that's where these things become very important. So consideration, exchange of something of value between the parties. 2 sentences ahead, consideration given between parties does not necessarily have to be equal. Offer. Must be clearly communicated. Usually offers made by the client. Signs the app, writes the check. Acceptance of the offer. Done by the underwriter, approves the app, issues the policy. Legal purpose and capacity. All parties contract must be competent to contract. Must be of age, sound mind. Not under the influence of drugs or alcohol. Next paragraph, going on to something new. The legal doctrine of adhesion. Okay, and this legal doctrine of adhesion applies to any contract where one party writes it and the other party has no right to modify it, which is any type of insurance contract. In other words, if you come in to see me and I'm a producer and I represent some company and I'm selling you auto insurance, you can't look at the policy and say, hey, you know, pages 1 and 2 are all right, but let's cross out this subcategory in page 3 and let's change around this and that and that. Nope, take it or leave it. So when it's a contract of adhesion, one party authors it without the other party's right to modify it. If there's any unclearness, if there's a claim and it's related to ambiguity in the contract, the court will always make their decision in favor of the insured, the person who didn't write the contract. In other words, you lose the right to argue the language in the contract if you wrote it and you don't allow the other party to modify it. So that's the doctrine of adhesion. Next paragraph, representations. Okay, so 2 things. we've got the application. And the applicant's filling it out. They have representations, which are truth to the best of their knowledge. That's answer number one that they can leave. Answer number two is a warranty, which is a guarantee of truth. All right, so representations, most common, truth to the best of your knowledge. You have to know the definition. A warranty is something that is a guarantee of truth and usually required in regards to burglar alarms, fire sprinklers. Okay, so we have that. Paragraph talks about representations and the definition. The doctrine of utmost good faith, which is in that paragraph, states, and it applies to all insurance, that all parties to the contract are supposed to be honest and rely upon answers given by the other parties. Next paragraph talks about the legal doctrine of waiver and estoppel. Two different things. You need to know the definitions and how they apply. Waivers defined as the voluntary giving up of a known right. Estoppel is the inability to enforce that right in the future once it's been waived. Doctrine of waiver and estoppel. Next paragraph, concealment. So if you conceal a weapon, where is it? It's hidden. Concealment is hiding something from the insurance company. So they say in that paragraph, deliberate omission of a material fact, and then they define fraud is the deliberate attempt to deceive. Either concealment of a material fact or fraud, if they can prove it, could cause the policy or claim to be voided. On to the last page. Second paragraph, unilateral. Okay, this is a unilateral contract. What that means is only one party is bound to perform. Who is that party that has to perform? The insurance company. They're bound, if you have a covered claim, to pay that claim. If they don't, you can take them to court and force them to pay that claim. Policy is conditional in the next paragraph. Conditions, as we'll learn about in the contract, applies to both parties. So that's a test question. But it may be a condition that applies to the insured. They have to submit proof of loss if they have a claim in order to get it paid. Insurance contracts are considered to be aleatory in that next paragraph because the outcome depends upon chance. You may have a claim or you may not. That's an aleatory contract. Principle of indemnity in the next paragraph, we talked about that. You can't profit. The purpose of that was to restore you to the financial position you enjoyed prior to the loss. Not for profit. Next paragraph, they talked about doctrine of utmost good faith again, which we already mentioned. They talk about warrants, warranties, guarantee of truth. However, it says a breach of warranty could possibly void coverage. A warranty, they define here, as we did earlier, absolute guarantee of truth, usually not required in insurance contracts. The last thing in the section, the doctrine of reasonable expectation, states that the policy must cover what a reasonable person would expect it covers. If you buy property insurance that covers fire, and there's a fire at the property and the insurance company denies the claim for whatever reason, it could go to court and the judge could require the insurance company to pay the claim under the doctrine of reasonable expectations that since it's fire insurance and it's covering a property, the reasonable person would expect every kind of fire to be covered. And that's the end of that section. So great job so far. We're starting to build our knowledge. We're going to go into the next section shortly, and that's basics. And we're going to learn a lot of really good information in regards to property and casualty insurance. But before we get there, read your key facts for this section. Take that online exam until you can get a 90% or better, understanding why the correct answer is correct and the incorrect answers are incorrect. Print off the next section, read it, and have it in front of you when you watch these videos so you can take notes. And I'll see you there.